You ever buy a piece of land and then realize you didn't think about the road at all? Yeah, it happens more than you'd think. Hey, welcome back to the Land Buyer's Guide. I'm your host, Scott Thomas, owner of landparker.com, where we help everyday people get onto rural land with affordable owner financing, sometimes as low as $100 down and $100 a month. Today we're talking about something that doesn't get nearly enough attention in the land buying world: roads, specifically how to take care of them once you own rural property. So let's get into it. When people are looking at a piece of land, they're thinking about the acreage, the trees, the creek, what they're going to build, where they're going to put the garden. And I totally get that. That's the fun stuff. But the road, whether it's a long gravel driveway, a dirt 2-track through the woods, or a shared access road, that thing matters a lot. A bad road can make a great piece of land really frustrating to own. And here's the good news. You don't need to be an engineer. You don't need a ton of money. You just need some basic knowledge and a little seasonal attention. Now, before anything else, you want to understand what kind of road you're actually dealing with. Gravel roads are the most common out there, and honestly the easiest to work with. They drain well when they're shaped right and maintained properly. Dirt or clay roads are cheaper to build, but they get rough fast, especially when it's wet. In parts of the Southwest and Texas, you'll see caliche or crushed limestone roads. Those hold up pretty well, but they get loose and dusty over time. And then there are what people call 2-track roads, basically just tire paths through dirt or grass. Those need the most attention during wet weather. Each type is a little different, but the core stuff applies to all of them. Now here's the single most important thing I can tell you about rural road maintenance. Are you ready? It's drainage. Water's the enemy. Full stop. Poor drainage is the number one reason roads fall apart. When water pools on your road surface or gets underneath it, it weakens the base, it creates ruts, and it leads to erosion. And if it gets bad enough, you can lose access to your property entirely. So drainage first, always. What does that look like practically? A few things. First, keep your ditches clear. The ditches along the sides of your road are there to move water away. If they're packed with leaves, debris, and sediment, water has nowhere to go except onto your road. Get in there once a year at minimum and clean that stuff out. Second, and this one people forget about, check your culverts. A culvert is that pipe that runs underneath your road at a low spot or a creek crossing. They clog up with dirt and junk over time. Once a year, grab a long rod or just flush them with water. Make sure they're actually doing their job. The third, think about the shape of your road surface. A well-maintained road has what's called a crown, a slight arc in the middle, so water naturally flows toward the sides instead of pooling in the center. Over time, that shape flattens out and you lose it. That's where grading comes in. And if you have a slope on your road, look into something called water bars. These are basically diagonal channels cut across the road on hillsides. They redirect water off the road before it picks up enough speed to cause serious erosion. Super simple concept. Really effective. Okay, so let's talk about grading. Grading is just leveling and reshaping the road surface. It knocks down ruts, puts the crown back where it belongs, and redistributes your gravel or surface material. If you've got a tractor with a box blade, you can do this yourself. And honestly, it's not that complicated once you get the hang of it. When should you grade? After a heavy rain or a flooding event for sure. At the start of spring when the ground thaws out, that's a big one. After a dry summer when the surface has hardened unevenly. And anytime you're seeing serious rutting or that washboard effect, where the road feels like a washboard when you drive on it. For most people, once or twice a year is plenty. And if you don't own the equipment, hiring a local contractor with a grader for a few hours is usually pretty affordable. Well worth it to avoid a bigger problem down the road. The thing is, even when you're grading regularly, your gravel and road base material doesn't just stay put. It migrates to the sides, gets pushed into ditches, gets scattered around. So you've got to replenish it every so often. When you're adding material, use crushed gravel or road base, not round river rock. Angular gravel compacts better and stays in place a lot longer. Focus on your high traffic areas, your low spots, any sections that keep rutting on you. Try to get your material down before rainy season so it has time to compact. And spread it out and grade it in. Don't just leave it sitting in piles. Now here's something that often gets overlooked. Vegetation. The trees and brush growing along your road aren't just a visual thing. Overgrown shoulders trap moisture against the road surface. Tree roots can undermine road edges. Overhanging branches can scrape up your trucks and equipment. It's a real maintenance issue. Mow or brush hog your road shoulders at least once a year. Trim back branches that hang over the road low enough to catch a tall vehicle. Get ahead of any dead trees that are leaning toward the road. Don't wait for them to fall across it. And keep vegetation away from your culvert inlets so stuff doesn't pile up and clog them. All right, so I want to give you a really simple seasonal framework here because I think it makes this whole thing feel manageable. In the spring, you're grading out the winter ruts, cleaning your culverts, checking for any frost heave damage. That's where the ground freezing and thawing can heave up your roadbed, and replenishing gravel where it's needed. In the summer, you're mowing shoulders, checking your water bars and ditches after any big storms, and handling dust control if that's an issue on your property. Come fall, you want to clear leaves out of your ditches and culverts because those things clog up fast. Do your major grading before winter sets in. Add material to any weak spots before the ground freezes. And in the winter, mostly you're just monitoring. Watch for ice building up at culvert openings. Try to keep heavy equipment off the road when the ground is saturated or thawing. That's when you can do some serious damage to your road base. Now, there are some things that go beyond basic maintenance. If you've had a major washout after flooding, if you need to install or replace a culvert, if you're building a brand new road section, or if your road base has actually failed and needs to be dug out and rebuilt, those situations call for a professional. A local grading contractor or excavation company is usually your best bet. And worth mentioning, some counties actually have cost share programs for private road improvements, especially if it affects community access. Might be worth a phone call to your county road department to see what's available. Here's the big takeaway. Rural road maintenance really comes down to three things: drainage, grading, and keeping your surface material in good shape. Add in some basic vegetation management and a seasonal routine, and you're honestly way ahead of most people. Your road is part of your investment. A bad road makes your land harder to use, harder to access in an emergency, and harder to sell someday if you ever wanted to. A little consistent attention, and I'm talking a few hours a year in most cases, protects everything else you've put into that property. Whether you just bought your first piece of rural land or you're still out there looking, this is the kind of practical stuff that makes owning land in the real world actually work. If you're still looking for that right piece of land, come check us out at landparker.com. We've got rural properties across the country with affordable owner financing, flexible terms, low down payments, no credit check headaches, just straightforward land ownership for real people. Head over to landparker.com and see what we've got available. We'd love to help you get on some land. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next one.